Okay, so let's go to the next part. We are going to the fourth part now. Okay, in between Nidhi company provisions were there. We have skipped that for the timing that we'll take up at the end. Okay, so just come to the topic of registered valuers, which is there just after Nidhi company provisions. Just come to the registered valuers provisions, everyone. Yes, everyone there at section number 247, registered values. A very simple provision. Some time back, like obviously 2 to 3 years back, this particular new section was inserted and new provisions were put in there. Now, first of all, what do you understand by this term called as registered valuers? Okay, forget about the word called as registered. What do you mean by the term valuers? Can I say these are the people who are involved into valuation? Yes, the people who are professionally equipped to do the valuation thing. Okay, it can be valuation of property, stock, shares, debentures, goodwill, or any particular assets. Okay, any particular assets can be valued by these particular people, and they are authorized. Okay, they are legally authorized to do the valuation as per certain principles. Like say for example, if we maintain the books of accounts, it is as per the accounting standards, or it is as per the some particular policies, etc. Similarly, whenever these people do certain valuation, they apply certain valuation principles, and then they do it. Okay, this was introduced somewhere in the year 1718 or somewhere like that, this registered valuer concept. So what, before 1718, was there no concept of valuation? Or were the companies and every other persons, were they not doing the valuation? Definitely, there was the concept of valuation. Okay, valuation of assets used to happen, valuation of assets, goodwill, debentures, shares, securities, etc. Everything was possible earlier. Okay, everything was possible earlier. But what was the difficulty? Okay, what made this section 247 get introduced? So what happened was, earlier the valuers that we used to have, every valuer was applying their own principle for the purpose of doing valuation. Okay, if I was allowed, say for example, if I am a chartered accountant, I was allowed to call myself as a valuer. I will do the valuation as per my own principles. Okay, there will be another finance expert who will say that, okay, I can value the securities. He'll apply his own principle and he'll do the valuation. Okay, so there was no principle which was commonly followed by everyone to do the valuation, and because of that, what problem arose was, if a same asset, okay, say for example, if I want to value this particular asset, if the valuation of this particular asset is done by two people, then we would be getting two different values. Why? Because everyone would be having their own assumptions, everyone would be having their own presumptions, and everyone used to do valuation as per their own principle. So there was no consistency. Okay, no one was wrong. Okay, no one was wrong also, but there was no consistency in that. So just to bring a consistency, in this concept of valuation, the principles of, or the concept of registered valuers, was introduced. Okay. So now, if you want to do valuation of any particular asset, be it stock, property, assets, goodwill, securities, net worth, liabilities, assets, any kind of thing is to be valued, then it has to be valued. Okay, that valuation will be treated as valid only if it is valued by this person called as registered valuer, who is having the appropriate qualifications and experience to become a registered valuer, and he is supposed to do it as per the prescribed terms and conditions. Okay, so simple thing. If valuation is to be done, of any particular assets, liabilities, including net worth or any particular thing, then in that case, it has to be done by a registered valuer who is appointed under section 247, and he has to do as per the prescribed terms and conditions. Very clear with this? Achha, now since we are studying about this in the Companies Act, okay, now since we are studying this in the Companies Act, then can I say if a company wants to get something valued, okay, if a company wants to get something valued, then in that case, this registered valuer, okay, this registered valuer will be appointed by whom? Okay, this registered valuer will be appointed by an audit committee. At least you have heard this term, right? This registered valuer will be appointed in the company by the audit committee, if there is any audit committee, and if there is no audit committee, then in that case it will be appointed by the board of directors. If there is audit committee, then no problem, audit committee will appoint the registered valuer and he will do the valuation in your company. And suppose if your company is not required to have an audit committee, etc., and it does not have an audit committee, then in that case the valuation will be done by the board of not the valuation, the appointment of the valuer will be done by the board of directors. Valuation has to be done by the registered valuer only. Okay, so who appoints the registered valuer? This is also very, very important. Okay, who appoints the registered valuer? That is also very, very important. That is audit committee or the board of directors. First priority audit committee, and if there is no audit committee, then in that case appointment of the valuer will be done by the board of directors. Okay, now let's try to understand what are the responsibilities. Okay, what are the responsibilities of this registered valuer? Okay, what are the responsibilities of this registered valuer? First of all, can I say he has to do an impartial valuation? Independence thing should be there. Okay, then he has to do a true and fair valuation of any particular asset. Okay, whatever asset we have given, okay, whatever asset we have given to that particular person to value, he has to do an impartial and true and fair valuation. He has to exercise due diligence, means he has to be very careful, very cautious while he is doing the valuation, that is while he is performing his duties, and he has to do it as per the rules. Okay, the principles about which I was talking about, he has to follow them. Okay, he has to follow them, and then only he is supposed to do the valuation as per the rules. Okay, and last thing, this is very, very important. I'll write it in another ink. If suppose he was interested in any particular asset in the last 3 years, then he cannot do the valuation of that particular asset. Or once he has done a particular valuation, after that he cannot be interested in that particular asset for a period of 3 years. Did you understand what happened here? So suppose if I was interested, suppose if today a client comes to me for doing valuation of any asset, and if suppose I was interested in that asset in the last 3 years, I cannot accept this project. Okay, I cannot accept it, I cannot do the valuation. Achha, suppose if I was not interested, then I can do the valuation. If I do the valuation today, then for the next 3 years, I cannot be interested in this particular asset. I hope I am very, very clear with this. Yes, these are the 4 things that we have to keep in mind when a registered valuer does the valuation. Okay, whenever a registered valuer does the valuation, these are the things that we have to keep in mind. Impartial, true and fair valuation. He has to exercise due diligence. He has to follow all the rules. Okay, he has to follow all the valuation rules while doing the valuation, and the interest thing is to be checked. He should not be interested in the last 3 years. So if he is interested, he cannot take up the valuation project. And if he has taken up the valuation project today, then he cannot be interested in this particular asset for the next 3 years. This is just to ensure independence. Okay, this is just to ensure independence. Okay, so that the valuation should not be influenced. Okay, it should not be influenced. Are you clear with this? Yes? Acha, now listen. What if the valuer contravenes any of the provision? if the valuer contravenes any of the provision, then in that case he will be liable for a penalty of flat rupees 50,000. Okay, he will be liable for a penalty of flat rupees 50,000. But if he, see, this is for what? In that interest thing, 3 years, that thing is not followed, then he has contravened the provision, so he will be liable for a penalty of rupees 50,000. Or he did not follow the rules while doing the valuation, etc., then he will be liable. Okay, but now suppose if he does something intentionally to defraud the members, creditors, etc., he has done something intentionally, then in that case he can be liable for punishment, that is imprisonment up to 1 year, and, okay, again, and fine ranging between 1 lakh to 5 lakh. Okay, purposely, like after conviction we have come to know that he has purposely done something like this, then in that case he will be liable. Then forget about penalty, then in that case he will be liable for punishment. Okay, if his intention was what? If his intention was to defraud the company members by doing fake valuation, false valuation, etc. Right? And if he has been convicted, okay, if he has been convicted here that yes, he has intentionally done something wrong, then whatever remuneration he has got from the company, he will have to pay back that remuneration. Okay, he will lose that particular remuneration. And suppose if any person has suffered any damage, okay, if any person has suffered any damage due to his improper reporting or due to his false reporting, then he will have to even indemnify for those damages. Okay, he will have to even indemnify for those damages. Are you clear with this? So we simply divided the section 247 into 3 parts. Okay, first one, valuation is to be done by a person called as valuer, who will be appointed either by the audit committee if there is any, and if there is no audit committee, then he will be appointed by the board of directors. Very clear with this? Acha, another thing were the 4 responsibilities. First one, fair and true valuation, impartiality, partiality should not be there, etc. Then after that, he has to exercise due diligence while performing his duties, right? Then he has to follow the valuation rules, and that 3 years before and 3 years after that, interest should not be there, right? If he contravenes, then there will be a penalty of rupees 50,000. And but if he is doing something intentionally to defraud the interest of the members, company, etc., then punishment will be applicable, that is imprisonment as well as fine is going to be applicable then. And if he is convicted for this for doing these things intentionally, leave your remuneration paid back to the company. And if someone has relied on your report and someone has suffered any amount of damages, then you will have to pay back those damages. Very clear with this? Yes. And now what happens is, see, whenever the provisions come into picture. So now here, just like we are talking about section 247. So registered valuers concept was introduced by the central government. Okay, it was introduced by the central government, and then central government delegated the powers to the IBBI. Okay, what is this IBBI? It is the main authority under IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. The main authority there is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. So central government has delegated the powers to the IBBI, that whenever you want to, make any rules for registered valuers or make any changes in the concept of registered valuers, that can be done by the IBBI. Generally under Companies Act, all the powers are with whom? Generally under Companies Act, all the powers are there with the central government. But the powers of section 247 have been delegated by the central government to the IBBI. Okay, full form of IBBI was Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Okay, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Very clear with this? Yes. Chalo, now going on to the next part of this registered valuer. ठीक है, registered valuer के अंदर ही है, registered valuer के अंदर ही है, लेकिन अभी हमने जो सेक्शन 247 था वो तो अपना कंप्लीट हो चुका है. ठीक है, अब ये जो registered valuer से रिलेटिंग है कुछ रूल्स. ठीक है, वो रूल्स इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, बट फिर भी एक बार उसको रीड कर लेता है, ठीक है, एक बार उसमें से जितने भी इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं ना वो समझ लेते हैं रजिस्टर्ड वैल्यूअर रूल्स के अंदर से, ठीक है। एग्जाम के टाइम के लिए आप इसको वन टाइम रीड के लिए रख सकते हो, इसके ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा टाइम देने की जरूरत नहीं है, ओके, बट यस वंस रीड तो बनता है, वो तो अपन को कोई भी चीज नहीं छोड़नी उसमें, ठीक है। तो देखो यहाँ पे क्या बोला है, रेलेवेंट कंटेंट फ्रॉम द वैल्यूएशन रूल्स, द कंपनीज रजिस्टर्ड वैल्यूअर एंड वैल्यूएशन रूल्स 2017। अब इसके अंदर कुछ रूल्स आने वाला है, वो समझने की कोशिश करता है। मैं आपको खाली ओवरव्यू देने वाली हूँ, ओके, आई एम जस्ट गोइंग टू गिव यू एन ओवरव्यू. Let's try to do those rules. Okay, let's try to do those rules. I'll just give you an overview of these particular rules. Yes. Now let's start. Okay, let's start with these rules. Now first of all, you have the rule number 3 coming up here, that is eligibility for registered valuers. That is who can become a registered valuer. First of all, if he is a member of RVO, that is registered valuer organization, that is one of the institute, okay, or one of the organization, if he is a valuer member of that, and if he is recommended by that organization that yes, he is a fit person to become a registered valuer, then in that case he can become a registered valuer. Okay, there are some more conditions that are to be satisfied, that is, okay, whenever he is getting registered, the day when he is making an application for registration of a registered valuer, in the last 3 years he should have cleared the valuation exam. Okay, so now the gap between clearing the exam and applying for the registered valuer registration, the gap should not be more than 3 years. Okay, and he should be having those required qualifications and experience which a person is required as a registered valuer, and then you are going to have certain basic disqualifications. He should not be of unsound mind, he should not be an insolvent person, he should not be a minor person, he should not be convicted of any offense involving moral turpitude, he should not be liable for penalty prosecution under some specific acts, etc. So point number E to point number J is talking about basic disqualifications, that these disqualifications should not have attracted. Acha, apart from that, he should be a member of RVO, he should have cleared the examination during the last 3 years, and he should have been recommended by the RVO to become a registered valuer. Then such person becomes eligible. Okay, then such person becomes eligible to be appointed as a registered valuer. Very clear with this? Acha, similarly, this point was applicable like minor, undischarged, bankrupt, unsound mind, etc. These points are applicable for an individual person. Okay, what about partnership entity? What about a company, etc.? So for them, see what have they told us here is, no partnership entity or company shall be eligible to be a registered valuer if it has been set up for projects other than valuation. Means that company or partnership entity's main motive should be to do the valuation only. Okay. No partnership will be eligible, no partnership or company shall be eligible if it is a subsidiary, joint venture, associate of another company or body corporate. So it should be a standalone company which has been established only for the purpose of valuation. Okay, example, now Reliance Industries is there and Reliance Industries subsidiary is there. So Reliance Industries subsidiary cannot be formed as a valuer member because it becomes a subsidiary of another company. Okay, then no insolvency or bankruptcy cases should be going on against that particular partnership firm or the company, and its partners and directors should be eligible person. Okay, all of them should be eligible person. Means what? Means again, the directors and partners of this firm or the company should have passed the examination during the last 3 years. They should not be minor. Okay, they should not be bankrupt. They should not be of unsound mind, and all those things which are applicable to the individual persons. Okay, so there in the first point, that individual valuer had to fulfill all the conditions. Here, the partners or directors of the company will have to fulfill all these conditions. Very clear with this? Okay. Acha, then at least 3 or all the partners or directors, whichever is lower, all of them should be registered valuer. Suppose if you have 2 partners in that partnership firm, then all of them should be registered valuer. Okay, if you have more than 3, say for example, partners or directors in that firm or the company, then at least 3 of them should be registered valuer. Means you can have non-registered valuer partners also, but majority of them, majority means 3 or total, whichever is lower, should be the registered valuer. These are just the basic conditions. Okay, these are just the basic conditions if you want to be eligible. Okay, if you want to be eligible for being appointed as a registered valuer. Okay, then these are the basic conditions for that. Very clear with this? Acha, now listen. That was the basic eligibility. Now let's understand about the qualification and the experience if he wants to become a registered valuer. So either of the 3 things he can possess. Okay. PG degree or diploma in some specific field discipline from Indian institute or university and at least 3 years of experience. Means PG, a postgraduate in a particular field plus 3 years experience. Okay, I'll just write it here. PG plus 3 years experience, or graduate plus 5 years of experience, or member of a professional institute, say for example member of an ICI plus 3 years of experience after membership. If any one condition is also fulfilled, then it is deemed that he has the basic required qualification. Okay, he has the basic required qualification for becoming a registered valuer. Very clear with this? Yes. And then he has to clear what? He has to pass the valuation examination. And suppose if he does not pass once, he can appear it for any number of times, and basically he has to pass. And after passing within 3 years, he has to apply for getting the designation of a registered valuer. Very clear with this? Yes. Now listen, once he has passed the examination and he has the required experience and all those things, then in that case, he can apply to the authority. Okay, an individual may apply to authority in Form A along with non-refundable fees of 5,000. Here, authority actually means IBBI because powers have been delegated to the IBBI. So, individual can go in Form A, partnership entity or company can go in Form B plus fees of 10,000. Authority will accept the form, it will ask for certain additional documents, etc. within 21 days if it wants. Okay, and then yes, if suppose there is some deficiency in the form that we have filled, that is Form A or Form B, it can give us 21 days to rectify all those things. It can even ask us to be present physically if it needs to verify some more things. And after that, if it is satisfied, it will grant us the registration certificate in Form C within 60 days of receipt of application. Means whenever we submitted that Form A, Form B, from that day, excluding the extra time given by the authority, means that extra time will be available to the authority. Apart from that, clear 60 days should be available with the authority, and within that much time, it can issue a registration certificate. Okay, now listen, this will be applicable. Form C will be applicable when my application is accepted. Suppose if my application is rejected, then it will communicate within 45 days. Okay, authority will communicate it to the applicant that your application is rejected for so and so reasons. Very clear with this? Yes. And then yes, definitely on that arguments can happen. Authority will say that we rejected your application. Applicant can submit an explanation that, sir, please accept it because of XYZ reasons and all those things. Okay. So 3 things to be remembered here. 3 things to be remembered here is Form A plus Form B and Form C. Form A is to be filed by an individual person if he wants to become a registered valuer. Okay. Form B is to be filed by whom? Is to be filed by the company or partnership when it wants to become a registered valuer. And in Form C, authority will grant the certificate of registration. Okay, and this will be granted within a time period of 60 days. Very clear with this? Yes, and once they become a registered valuer, after that they can start the valuation. Okay, they can conduct the valuation as per, very, very important, they can conduct the valuation as per valuation standards. Okay, because I had told you, right, that we want consistency, right? And if we want consistency, then yes, some rules, some regulations, some policies have to be followed. And till the time valuation standards are not established, means till the time they are not constituted, till that time we are going to use the internationally accepted valuation standards, which is adopted by the registered valuer organization. Okay, the institute which is there in India, registered valuer organizations, institutes are there. So whatever they adopt as valuation principles, registered valuer will use those principles and it will conduct the valuation. Very clear with this? Yes, acha. Now, if there is a registered valuer and if he wants to temporarily surrender his registration certificate, then no problem, just inform the authority, okay, that we want to register our registration certificate. Organization will inform the authority. First registered valuer will inform it to the RVO, and RVO will subsequently inform it to the authority, that is to the IBBI, and organization shall inform the authority if any valuer has surrendered or received the membership within 7 days from approval of such application. The main approving authority is going to be RVO, and then RVO is going to just intimate it to the IBBI that so and so person has been added or so and so person has been removed, right? And then that data will be available on the website of the RVO if anyone wants to search that if someone's certificate is valid or is it temporarily surrendered, etc. That data will be available on the website of the registered valuer organization if he wants, if at all, if anyone wants to search, right? And these transitional provisions you can just cut because the transitional provision time period is already over there. Okay, that time period is already over, so you can just cut it there. Yes, same thing is getting continued on the next page. You can just ignore it because that was a transitional provision and its validity also has got over. Right? Then after that, a few more points coming up here. How is RVO established? Okay, how is RVO established? Let's try to understand that. First of all, it has to fulfill certain eligibility requirements which we do not have. Okay, it will have to maintain a register of members, that is of the registered valuers. It will accept only those people as its members who have the proper qualifications. Okay, and always it will be in form of Section 8 company. This RVO, okay, this institute, this organization will always be in the form of Section 8 company. If not, then convert yourself into a Section 8 company. Okay, this is about the registered valuer organization who is going to have registered valuer as its members. Very clear with this? Acha. Similarly, now authority, that is IBBI, may cancel or suspend the registration of valuer or organization for violation of provisions of the Act. Okay, and complaint may be filed against any of those two before the authority in person or by post or courier along with fees, and authority will take the necessary action. Suppose if RVO or the registered valuer does not comply with any provisions, then anyone can go and file a complaint to the authority, that is IBBI. Right? Acha. Now, from the government, we are going to form a committee who is going to give their advice on valuation matters. Now, this committee is going to have a certain composition, and that is a long composition. One chairperson, one member from MCA, one member from IBBI, one member from legislative department, 4 members nominated by CG, 4 members who are the representative of RVO, 2 members representing the industry and the stakeholders, president of the professional institutes, etc. All these people will come together, they will form a committee, and this committee is going to advise the central government on valuation matters. Okay, and their tenure will be 3 years plus another period of 3 years, means maximum 2 years. two tenures, 3 years plus 3 years. Very clear with this? And if there is any contravention, then he will be punishable under section 469, which we do not have. And suppose if any particular person purposely gives any false information, makes any false report, submits any false documents, etc., he will be liable under section 448 of the Act. Okay, he will be liable under section 448, which ultimately takes us to section number, which talks again 448 we do not have. So this is again a section. I think which takes us back to section number 447 only. It will be considered as if you have done a fraud. Right? So this was just a quick overview. Okay, this was just a quick overview that okay, you can just understand here. That we are going to have a registered valuer, then we are going to have a registered valuer organization, and then you are going to have the main authority. Actually, the main authority is central government, but central government has delegated its powers to the IBPM. So they have given you the qualification for this RV. Then they will get registered as a member of RVO by making an application in Form A or Form B, and then they will get the certificate in Form C. Then RVO is the organization which is in the form of Section 8 company. Okay, and then RVO will accept registered valuer as its members, and all those things are coming up. Okay, so this is not very important, obviously not to be learned by heart, but yes, just read it once. Okay, just read it once so that you will just get an overview of it. Yes, but this read once thing is applicable only for the rules. We had already done section number 247. That is going to be super duper important. Okay, entire 247 is going to be super duper important. No compromise with that. Okay, no compromise with that. Just the rules are one time read rules. Very clear with this? Did you understand what was the purpose of bringing registered valuers into picture? Like, why did we even bring registered valuers into picture? I hope you have understood that much. Yes. Okay. So just read the rules one, and then you need not take it for your first revision, second revision, etc. Just once in the final revision, you can just take it. Yes.